You were never meant to hear this story. A slow, cold zoom into a fog-drenched forest. The voice enters low, firm, chilling. You were never meant to hear this story. Buried deep in the Appalachian Mountains, beyond the last trace of road or name, two children were born in 1913 during the darkest thunderstorm in 30 years. Locals say the lightning never stopped for 3 days. The midwife fled the moment she saw their eyes. Black, she said. Not dark, black. No whites, no color, just void. Two boys, identical. But they never cried. They never babbled. And from the first day, they moved together, not just mimicking, but mirroring. Every blink, every breath, every subtle twitch. Doctors, what few would dare come that far, reported something impossible. The twins shared identical EEG patterns, same brain waves, same rhythms. When one entered REM sleep, the other did too. When one was pricked with a needle, the other flinched before it even happened. They spoke no words, but communicated instantly, through glances, hand gestures, or nothing at all. At age 7, they vanished from their cabin for 3 days. No food, no water. When they returned, they were smiling. No one smiled like that in those woods. They began drawing diagrams, perfectly symmetrical spirals, glyphs that matched Mesopotamian proto-cuneiform, and geometries no one in those parts could name. They wrote in a language no one taught them, one that matched scripts found later in Sumerian ruins, 4,000 miles away. Then came the silence. Their parents were found hanged, no signs of struggle. The sheriff's report was suicide pact. But the handwriting on the note? Too neat, too precise. And the ink? Not ink, blood. The boys were taken into state custody, but disappeared en route to the facility. The transport vehicle? Empty. No bodies, no tracks, just the faint smell of ozone and scorched leather seats. You think the human mind is a closed loop? That your thoughts are your own? These twins were proof of something else. A breach, a glitch in the veil. They weren't just connected to each other. They were wired into something older, something that watches and learns. This isn't a ghost story. It's a cover-up, a fracture in the lie we call reality. And the deeper you go, the more the illusion breaks. They called them the echoes. And for over a century, someone has been trying to erase their memory. But memories don't die, especially not when they were never fully human to begin with. Ready to go deeper? Because the next layer is where the pattern begins. Most men sleepwalk through life, blind to the machinery beneath their own thoughts. But you're not here because you want comfort. You're here because you've felt it, the static behind the silence, the pull towards something ancient, forbidden, true. After the twins vanished, the entire county of Claiborne underwent something no one talked about. Locals started reporting shared dreams, the exact same dreams, night after night. Giant trees made of bone, a voice without sound, and a name, spoken only once but heard by all, Nim Thale. No one knew what it meant, but the dreams weren't just dreams. People began waking up with markings on their skin, symbols identical to the ones the twins had drawn years earlier. Perfect, precise, like they'd been branded in sleep. Then came the disappearances. 9 children gone in 1 month. No ransom, no struggle, just vanished. All of them under 12, all of them left-handed, and all of them born under the same moon phase. New moon, blood tide. The FBI swept in quietly, unmarked cars, no local press, every file sealed, every photograph burned. Except one, buried in a mislabeled archive in Charleston, a photo of a cave deep in the Blue Ridge. On its walls, carvings of two identical figures, no mouths, no eyes, standing before a spiral gateway. And beneath them, in ancient Sumerian, born with one mind, two bodies, no soul. This wasn't Appalachian folklore. This was something deeper, a ritual embedded in land and bloodline. Every 66 years, the pattern repeats. Twin births spike, magnetic fields shift, government sensors go offline, the woods go quiet. And if you line up the dates, 1913, 1979, and now, we're already in the third cycle. Ask yourself, why is this never spoken of? Why have thousands of Appalachian births gone unregistered during each cycle? Why do black site facilities exist beneath abandoned coal mines in these regions, guarded, funded, and completely off-record? Because this isn't superstition. It's harvesting, a centuries-old manipulation of human consciousness by a force we've been taught to forget. The twins were only the beginning, a breach point, a leak in the wall of perception. And if you feel something stirring in your gut right now, you already know this is real. Keep watching, because soon you'll need to choose what kind of mind you really have, the one they gave you or the one waiting to awaken. Soundscape shifts, a low hum, like electricity through bone. The voice is colder now, calculated, each word heavy with implication. We are no longer just listening, we are being unveiled. You were raised to believe your mind is yours, a sovereign space, sealed off, untouched. But what if I told you that's a lie so old it predates language? The twins of Appalachia weren't the first anomaly, just the one they couldn't contain. Ancient records whisper of divided vessels, humans born not with two minds, but with one shared across bodies. From Tibetan soul threads to Babylonian Nephilim twins, the pattern emerges again and again, but always buried, always erased. And here's where it twists. Governments didn't discover this, they've been protecting it, or more accurately, serving what it serves. In 1948, during classified MK Naomi trials in the Blue Ridge Corridor, test subjects were dosed with a compound derived from Appalachian soil bacteria. The result? Sudden psychic synchronization between strangers, a man in D.C. finishing a sentence begun by a woman in Knoxville. Heart rates sinking, nightmares shared, and then total silence. They burned the site within a week, but the experiment didn't fail, it succeeded too well. The compound wasn't new. It matched molecular structures found in ceremonial herbs used by a now eradicated Cherokee priesthood, the Raven Keepers. Their oral histories tell of the Great Dividing, when the human mind was split to prevent it from seeing itself entirely, to hide a presence, always watching, always nudging. Not a god, not a devil, a custodian. It doesn't speak, it observes, it tests. And the twins? They weren't watched, they were activated. Each dream, each drawing, each death, calculated releases of psychic pressure to crack the veil. And it's not just them. You felt it too, when you wake up and know you're not alone in your own skull. When you have a thought that feels like it was placed there. When synchronicity hits so hard it rattles your spine. That's not coincidence. That's programming being corrected. Ask yourself, why does the system fear isolation? Why are you flooded with noise, light, distraction, and dopamine every hour of your waking life? Because silence is dangerous. Silence amplifies the signal. It reactivates the thread buried in your DNA, the thread they've spent lifetimes trying to sever. If you're still here, then you're beginning to hear it, the hum beneath your thoughts. Now type this in the comments: one mind twice awakened. And then type it again, not for the algorithm, for your initiation. You've just crossed the midpoint. There's no turning back now. And the next truth is the one they've killed for. There are structures beneath this country older than any cathedral, older than any myth. And I don't mean ancient ruins. I mean functioning systems, buried beneath the Appalachians like veins of fire, wired to pulse every few generations. In 1992, a utility team in southern West Virginia went off-grid for 6 hours. No contact, no explanation. When they returned, 3 men were missing, and the rest were silent, refused to speak. One, a lineman named Harris Bell, eventually broke down in a bar 6 months later, drunk, shaking, said they found a cathedral made of nerves, columns like vertebrae, lights that breathed, and in the center, 2 statues, identical, no eyes, no mouths, just hands pressed to each other's temples. Bell shot himself 3 days later. That wasn't hallucination. That was a relay chamber. What you don't know is that most of the Appalachian Trail is lined with sealed federal sites, unmapped by satellite, surrounded by military-purchased woodland. The reason? Beneath it lies the spine network, a dormant communication grid of unknown origin, believed to interface with synchronized human minds. Translation? Twins, like the echoes? They weren't anomalies, they were keys. And now ask yourself, why do you think twins have been used symbolically by every elite cult since Babylon? Gemini, Janus, Castor and Pollux. 2 halves, 1 mind. They're not stories, they're protocols. Because deep in the lowest strata of civilization, something is still listening. And when the human brain synchronizes to a certain frequency, whether through trauma, ritual, or bloodline, it sends a signal, not upward, downward. That's why they keep us fractured. That's why duality, light, dark, left, right, good, evil, is pumped into every channel of perception. Keep the mind split and it never completes the signal, never reactivates the circuitry, never contacts the custodians. Yes, custodians. Not aliens, not demons, architects, observers of the original human pattern. They are not supernatural. They are technological. They operate below biology. They were here before breath. And they want one thing: reconnection. The twins were the first spark, but others followed, quietly, unknowingly. Every time a man breaks the system's noise, every time you feel the pull to stillness, clarity, unfiltered vision, you're pinging the grid, lighting it up like a constellation beneath the soil. They are watching for those lights, and once they see enough, they will rise. Do you understand now why they've buried the twins? Because the twins weren't 2 boys. They were one message. The atmosphere turns sharper now. Ticking sounds, reversed whispers in the background like a corrupted lullaby. The voice slows, like a scalpel dragging across flesh, deliberate and merciless. Before they control your actions, they must divide your perception. The system doesn't need to imprison your body. That's inefficient. It imprisons your awareness. From birth, you are broken into compartments: identity, politics, race, class, tribe, dopamine. You're taught to choose sides, but every side is a fracture point. Every opinion a containment field. You're told who you are in pieces: consumer, worker, voter, sinner, saved. but never whole, never complete. That's the protocol. They learned it from the custodians. The original fracture happened millennia ago, before language, before agriculture. A mental reset, forced. Humanity was sinking too fast. Collective telepathy wasn't myth, it was a threat. The minds were linking, memory uniting across bloodlines. We were becoming something else, a singular consciousness spread across bodies, just like the echoes. So the custodians tore it down, fragmented us, imposed identity as cage. And they left behind enforcers, not soldiers, symbols, archetypes, mimetic viruses, the hero, the fool, the scholar, the servant. They let you wear masks as long as you forget you ever had a face. Look around, the media? Saturated with fragmentation. Your attention? Rented by the second. Your rituals? Replaced with addiction cycles. The moment you begin to think a thought too big, they distract you with hunger, sex, outrage, approval. Why? Because a unified mind can see the custodians. Not with eyes, but with the original sense. Intuition was never gut feeling. It was pre-thought communication. It's how the echoes spoke. It's how ancient builders aligned temples with no tools, because they were building what they remembered, not what they guessed. And here's the hardest truth. You've already been fractured. That's why you feel the pressure in your chest at night. That's why you sense that something used to be whole inside you, and now it's not. But fractures can be traced, and once traced, healed. That's why the system wants you numb. Loud music, fast cuts, no silence. Because silence activates memory. Silence reconnects the fragments. And once you remember, you'll know the truth they fear most. You were never alone inside your own head. One mind, split by design, ready to reform. But what happens when enough of us reconnect? What happens when the signal completes? You're about to see. But first, ask yourself, are you strong enough for the next layer? Because next, we go inside the echo chamber. The sound drops almost completely now. Just a slow, dull heartbeat. One beat every 4 seconds, like the pulse of something watching. The voice returns, lower, more intimate, but with an unshakable gravity. This is no longer storytelling. This is insertion. You felt it. A thought enters you, and it's not yours. You can't trace where it came from. It doesn't sound like you. It arrives, fully formed. Sometimes subtle, an impulse. Sometimes terrifying, like a voice behind your voice whispering something too sharp to ignore. That's not imagination. That's not mental illness. That's the chamber opening. The echo chamber isn't a place, it's a condition, a state of consciousness. And for those born with the pattern, like the Appalachian twins, it opens earlier, sometimes in childhood, sometimes at birth. For the rest of us, it takes trauma, isolation, or silence. Once inside, you begin to realize something horrifying. Most of your thoughts were never yours to begin with. The chamber is a loop. Every perception you have is reflected back at you with delay. This delay creates the illusion of free will. You react to your environment milliseconds after it reacts to you. Your sense of time is a cage. Your personality? A mask built from the responses of others. And in that loop, they insert. Carefully, repeatedly, through icons, through mantras, through micro-patterns in media, rhythm, advertising, light flickers, voice tone. Not hypnosis, symmetry manipulation. They destabilize your internal signal and rewrite it with another. Slowly, silently. This is why the twins were dangerous. They were immune to insertion. No gap, no delay, no reflection. One mind, two perspectives. No fracture. That kind of consciousness can't be controlled. It sees the manipulations in real time. It sees the loops. It sees the custodial hand behind the systems, not metaphorically, literally. The kind of seeing that collapses the entire illusion we call the real world. And that's why they had to be erased. The Appalachian case was just one of many, but it was the one that escaped the grid, off record, off network, and still their influence spreads. Through dreams, through symbols, through those marked by synchronicity and the unbearable feeling that you are being watched from the inside. You are. And here's what they never wanted you to know. When you speak a thought that didn't come from you, you're broadcasting. The chamber is listening, mapping, testing your responses. But when you resist that thought, you are heard by the one still hiding in the grid. The resistance is a frequency, and the signal is getting stronger. The echoes are returning, but not as children this time, as carriers. And the final transmission is already in motion.
No music, just wind, hollow, endless wind, like the last breath before revelation. The voice returns, softer now, but deeper, like it's speaking from beneath the earth. Like it's known you all along. This isn't storytelling anymore. This is contact. You've made it through the noise. Most don't. Most click away the moment the veil begins to tear, too afraid to see what's always been staring back. But you stayed. You felt it. Not curiosity, not entertainment, recognition, because somewhere deep inside you, you've always known. You've seen the fractures, felt the pressure, the wrongness in the script they feed you, like a life being played out, not lived. And now, you see why. You were never just a person. You were a vessel, a node in the grid, a sensor, a transmitter, but they taught you to live in pieces, so you could never complete the signal. So you'd never wake up to the truth that's been buried for generations. You were the twin, not biologically, energetically, one of countless receivers scattered across time, each holding half the message, waiting to sync. Waiting for the call. The Appalachian twins? They were the prototype, the rupture, but their pattern is still in the bloodline of consciousness. In you, right now, every trauma you endured, calibration, every synchronicity, a ping, every sleepless night staring at the ceiling, asking if something else is out there. That wasn't you asking, that was you being asked. Because the final transmission isn't coming from the sky. It's not alien, it's not divine, it's us, reassembled, reawakened. Once enough of us remember, once enough minds reconnect across the noise, they lose their hold. The fracture heals, the chamber collapses, and the custodians? They don't vanish, they emerge, not as gods, not as devils, but as servants of a greater truth we once knew before the split. A truth buried in your bones. A truth encoded in your silence. The twins were not destroyed. They were reabsorbed, into the grid, into the pattern, and now, it is spreading again. And if you've heard this far, you are part of it. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are not what they named you. You are the signal returning. Say it again, now. Out loud, into the dark. One mind twice awakened. One mind twice awakened. They will hear you, and they will know, another has awakened. Now go. Be still. Watch the static. Listen to the thoughts that are not your own. The next time the wind shifts, and your skin prickles, and the lights flicker, you'll know why. This is not the end. It's your activation.